Yes, here we are, the three of us. We haven't been together for quite a long time, and there is a terrific public demand to see us and hear us again in this uh, form, format. Omri, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Tonight we're going to celebrate the holiday of love, the Valentine.
Ah,
A good way to celebrate Valentine's.
well, I'm not sure I'm the proper person. You are a bachelor. I am divorced, and Andrew will represent
Yeah.
the,
Well, I will give you my
the married man. Yes.
I'll give you my Valentine's Day tip. Celebrate on the 13th,
Hmm.
not the
And why?
14th. Save money and time.
Well, if you got married in the notion that you were going to save money, it's a big mistake.
I
You
was
must
very
be
young. I was very
you
young.
you must have found out that in the course of time.
Yeah.
And well, I didn't divorce in order to save money. This should be said also. And well, I don't know why they have to pick up a day to celebrate love. Either it is celebrated as a natural thing coming out of a relationship, and if you have to stop and think and prepare and buy gifts and make arrangements and book a place to eat, I think it is a bit superficial. What do you think?
I would definitely agree with that. It should be something in that sense that you've just described that is celebrated every day.
Consciously, yes, as a part of love,
Yeah.
a part of life. Uh, but let's talk about it. Why does society have to pick up a day for celebrating love?
Well, I can think of a jaded reason and maybe a better reason. The jaded reason is that it's very commercial and we need to sell flowers and cards. Because otherwise the economy would collapse in the middle of February. It's just required. Um, the better reason might be that in our modern societies, we are so overwhelmed with activity and work and constant demands on our attention that perhaps it's a good thing to be reminded to take the time every once in a while. And it couldn't hurt to have a day that reminds us.
Omri, what do you think about it?
Like Andrew, I think the reason we celebrate birthday or mention the day that we born, it's a kind of reminder to remind us to celebrate the love or celebrate the friendship or relationship with your partner. But of course, it's based on a Christian religious habit and culture thing. In
Yes.
Israel, it's not a big of an issue, but in the Netherlands, either it's not a big issue.
Hmm.
The way it says probably if it's a big issue in America, particularly, I do tend to agree it's a commercial thing in the first place. Probably. I don't know when it became so popular.
It's a good
How,
question.
how was it in like 100 years ago or 200 years ago? Was it in this same fashion or manner? How did it develop to be such a big deal? This should be. We haven't looked up. We haven't looked into it deeply, so I can't tell you when did this day become the day of Cupid. Um, but I do tend to agree. We live our lives day by day. We get carried away with our work and responsibilities and duties and things that we have to do, and there's never enough time to stop and think and really focus in love, in the meaning of love, in the fact that love has to be nourished all the time. If you don't, it's like a flower, it's like a plant. If you don't water it, if you don't look after it, if you don't give it sun and warmth and take care of it, the plant will die. And we tend to forget that. And I think that for those who, because of all these reasons and others, forget that you have to work on maintaining. I mean, you fall in love, it's all lovey-dovey, and the first year, or some people say the first 3 years are magnificent, and everything is wonderful and full of joy. And like other things, in many cases, I'm not saying this is the overall thing, but in many cases, love, the strength of love, the magnitude tends to fall low, and you have to revive it by certain means. And those people who do not have the ability or don't think about it, and they don't pay attention, that they're not watering, so to speak, the plant, and it's dying. They need a reminder. I agree with what you said at the beginning. And this reminder can work on Valentine's Day and maybe carry on for a while and revive feelings and things and excitement that prevailed at the first steps when love just occurred and happened and was very strong and emotional. So
Yeah.
yes, we do need reminders in our this kind of society we live in, that we're so preoccupied with thousands of things that distract our mind and call for our attention and are forced on us because we owe ourselves and we have to earn the money in order to buy these presents, etc., etc. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it is a good idea. But I agree with you, Andrew, that making it something too commercial takes out some of the essence
Mm.
of the idea of reviving your love and making it flourish again.
Yeah, it takes out the authenticity. But certainly, life is like a forest of 1,000 trees, and every tree is a thing to do. And I find that I am lost in that forest quite often. So every once in a while, I need
Chop
someone or
down,
something to
chop
pull
down,
me out.
chop down the forest.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
you
kind of
won't
like
get
the
lost
forest
there.
too, but we need to be pulled out of it sometimes. You mentioned something that made me think there for a second. You talked about those early moments. And I think we can all attest to those early moments of love and probably all agree that they were a sort of beautiful insanity and
Hmm.
really quite insanity. And I think there is something to be said for that transition from insanity to the mundane day to day love. It can't
But
be
why,
like that
why do you
always.
think you have to be insane in order to bind yourself into this?
Oh, I
Is
don't.
institution.
I don't think I have to be, but I think that I inevitably am in the beginning. Right in the beginning, we aren't very rational. We do crazy things, or at least I do. Maybe I'm just crazy. But 21 years in now, most of love is a day-to-day reality of making life together. And those moments of insanity can still spark up every once in a while, but most of the time it's kind of boring. And I think that the real um, beauty of love is more seen in those, for lack of a better word, boring moments where you're doing life together, where you are, you know, getting by day, where you're struggling together, where you're taking care of your kids if you have kids, where you're worried about money together, or you're worried about an upcoming deadline. And it's not all worry, of course, but it makes me think of Fiddler on the Roof. There's that song where do you love me? That one, right?
The first time I met you was on our wedding day. I was scared, I was shy, I was frightened, so was I. She
you know the whole
says,
thing.
and then it went on, yes.
And then she
The
talks about
first time I met you was on our wedding day. I was scared, I was shy, I was frightened, so was I. With our daughter getting married, and as long go lie down, he says.
There's a moment in that song where she says, for I forget how many years it was. For so many years, I've washed your clothes.
I've looked for you. I kept. I worried for you.
Yeah.
And now, yes.
And then she says,
for 25 years.
25 years. Yeah. Yes. And then she says, after going through all of the practical little things she does for him, if that's not love, what is?
If that's not love, what is?
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what I'm
with our daughter getting married, etc. We spoke about it in a previous meeting we had here, and I said, and I will say it again from my experience and my age, and I'm the oldest man here, and I married and I divorced and etc. etc. I can tell you that I found out that, as you said, the first years are crazy, and then you have to build a home. You have to provide. You start having children if this is the thing that happens. You have to care for them. You have to put a roof over your head and over your children's head, and then bring food and endless things that you have to pay for, and from buying diapers and etc., and food, and then education, and then higher education, and you're in the midst of it, and it's costing an arm and a leg, I'm sure. And this is a project. We are all the time, all this time, from the moment we get married until our children leave home, and well after, but especially until we get them to be independent and stand on their own, we are involved in a project. And both of us, the couple has to work on the project in order to make it succeed. Now, the turning point or the dangerous point is when the projects end, or the major projects end. How to maintain the love and the relationship when you are already worn out, and you have mostly completed the projects you were working on together. This is a turning point. This is a very crucial moment in which love is being tested. How to maintain and how to keep the spark. And I found out, if I may contribute my experience, that unless the couple have built and created uh, things that they are mutually interested in, like singing in a choir, like watching movies, like going to the theater, like playing bridge, all sorts of things that create some kind of combination between them that they are both interested in. Yes, they have a mutual interest in one, two, three things, which combine them together when the projects have ended and vanished.
Mm-hmm.
Unless this is the case, then everyone lives his own life, and there's nothing to when what they had to build and maintain and complete, when this project at a certain stage in their lives ends, so they either keep living together because it is comfortable and because there are economic reasons not to split, because it makes life quite uh, quite problematic to keep two houses instead of one, cheaper by the dozen, etc. But this is a thing that people have to understand. Like I would say, it is similar to what they say about going on pension. That if you don't prepare fields of interest and you don't think of the future, what and this time of going on pension, when when the man doesn't go to work and he's at home and she's at home, and they have nothing to talk about and nothing to combine them with something mutual that they
Yeah.
love and like, etc. This is also a very crucial moment. So I think, and people don't think about it. They don't prepare themselves for this moment. And you know, once they lived 40 years, this was the lifespan. You know, you raised your family, you got to the point where you ended your duties, and you vanished, you perished, which is not the case now. We live long lives, and our lives continue long after we have completed our basic initial missions, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And what then? We have to prepare for this what then moment. And if we do not, it's a problem. And
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, if you come back to the subject, cannot override the problem. And yes,
Certainly
and
cannot.
buying a card, a flower, a present, a bracelet, a chain, an earring, a ring, whatever, is very superficial, and it doesn't solve the problem. So think about it, and you
Yeah.
have to work on it and find time to plan. We have our lives are so combined and complicated now that if we don't make plans for the future, how to maintain our living together in, I won't say crazy love, but understanding and kindness and happiness and feeling and emotions to
Mm-hmm.
each other, it will not hold. It will be very miserable. It can be very miserable. And I'm sorry I'm saying a word like miserable on Valentine's Day,
Ah,
but uh,
it's not.
this day is supposed to awaken love, but also to remind us that love does not exist on its own. It has to be taken care of all the time. And also, we have to plan our steps for the future in order to maintain our relationship with our mates, with our other side. This is my contribution to this conversation.
It's a good one.
And here,
Hmm.
how do you see love in your early years? What does love mean to you? We want to get your point of view because
Now we start a new topic.
Andrew is just in this the middle stage of all.
We've got the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right, so let's make it, so we'll hear your focus, your point of view.
I think every human being looking to be loved and needs to share his life with someone that he loves and care about. But the reason behind it is could be many different reasons and different interests of different people. In my case, my interest is to build a family in some point, but not at this point. So I'm not looking for a serious relationship these days. But there's many kinds of love. There's a friendship love between what we shared, and there's a sexual love, and there's love between family members and between colleagues at study or at work. It's a variety of many different feelings and aspects of love. It's a very broad and wide subject.
It's kind of funny that we only celebrate the romantic love on this day, then, as you say that.
Yeah, yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
Because most of the songs and most of the
Maybe
themes,
the arrows of Cupid were meant only for one target. I don't know whether he shot his arrows in the different kinds of loves that you described and are existent, of course.
but to wrap it up, I would say the love is the power of life and sometimes could be the taste and the meaning of life. Like the Beatles said, all you need is love. It's true
Yep.
because this is what we aim for.